So today on the First Time Storytelling broadcast, my guest is Rachel Noall. Rachel is a poet, English professor, and the CEO of RN Marketing Collective. Rachel is here to share the story of the first time someone read her poetry and contacted her about it through a great big story from CNN. Welcome to the broadcast, Rachel.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to talk about this. It was kind of fun to revisit that memory. So I'm really excited.
Super. Okay, so let's start with, because this is about poetry, tell us what brought you into the world of becoming a poet.
It's kind of funny. I never thought I was going to be a poet per se. I always thought I was going to be a writer. And that's something that I definitely chased. And then when I quit my job and I was like, okay, I'm going to be a writer now. And then I was looking for writing communities and people who engage with new writers. And of course I found social media, and social media has started to value the brevity of poetry. I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to share it's going to have to be shorter. So it's going to be poetry, I guess. And that's kind of how it started, honestly. But then I don't know, I've always really enjoyed power punch words that really can kind of stop people in their tracks. So that's something that I try to do with my poetry. And that's kind of how I ended up here. But yeah, I always knew I'd be a writer. Didn't know I'd be a poet. So
That's a
here
very interesting
now.
way of getting, yes, it's a very interesting way of getting into it, because
Yeah.
usually it's either a poem really moved you, but the concept of poetry, there's an attraction to it. So it's interesting for you. It's just like, oh, okay, this seems like a great option. Let me give it a go and try it out. And obviously it's panned out for you.
Yeah. And
So
I think, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Poetry's kind of had this moment, and I wanted to make sure, as someone who was interested um, in writing, but wanted to obviously reach an audience, unless you have a big book contract, it's hard to reach people. But poet now, poetry's having this moment on social media, and it has continued to have it. And it's something that I saw happening, and I wanted to, kind of be a part of that as much as I could. So using the platforms available, it's been really helpful, and it's worked out. Yeah, my third book's
yeah,
coming out at the end of October, so I'm really excited.
that's awesome. Okay, then let's get into your
Yeah.
story. What this person contacted you? Did you know that they were using your poetry? Tell us what happened.
No, so I love CNN and their video storytelling. So I was listening to one of their great big stories. Great story is awesome. If anyone doesn't listen to it, they definitely should. But they highlight, it's a 4-minute video, and they highlight someone around the world doing something cool. And I watched this story about this girl who's a photographer, and she shoots abandoned places. So, and she lives in Canada. So she travels around Canada and she shoots abandoned homes and hospitals, and the photography is just so raw and gritty and has so much texture, and I love that. And I studied photography in high school and kind of as a hobby up through college. So I was like, this is so cool. But the crux of the story was that she went into this home that she thought was abandoned, and there was a man there, someone living there. And at first, I mean, you're a young person and you walk into a place and you think you're by yourself and there's someone there, you're like, holy moly, ah! Oh, but she actually got to know and befriend this man. And ultimately what she did was he obviously wasn't living in a great situation. His home was abandoned, right? So what she did was she kind of helped him get into a senior home. And now he's he needs, and he has friends, and she goes and sees him all the time, and they're good friends now. But I was so inspired by that story. So I, kind of sat on it for a day or two, and then I wrote my own version of, uncovering things that are abandoned and revisiting memories and finding meaning in strangers. And I posted on Instagram, and I tagged Great Big Story, and I said, I was so inspired by story on CNN. It's just everyone should go watch it. And a few days later, I'm sitting in this coffee shop, and I get this direct message, and it's, hey Rachel, I don't like, you don't know me, we've never met, but one of the producers from Great Big Story saw your poem and reached out to me, and like, I'm the girl who takes the pictures. And I was like, holy moly, like the power of the internet is so cool. Like there were so many things that like really shocked me about that. It was that, I think online we look for a lot of connections. I'm a big believer in, like, I think social media has done a lot of good for the world, and I think it's also like done a lot of bad for the world. But that was a moment where I was like, the internet did what it's supposed to do, right? It's connecting people who are seeking and inspired and yearning for, like, we have this thing in common, and like your story resonated with me, and there's this really great opportunity for exchange. And now we kind of follow each other's journeys, this girl and I, and she's this like photographer who's like doing her thing, and she reads my poetry, and it's just really cool that some producer who I'm sure like is way too busy poem and said, oh, this is really thoughtful and I want to make this connection for the people. And now we kind of get to follow each other along, and it's just like really cool. And it was the first time that I was like, all right, like the internet's like doing what it's supposed to, and people are finding this stuff, and I'm making connections. And I was like, okay, like I'm a writer now. Like it was definitely this turning point it was like my mentality just like completely shifted, just because I felt like my writing was reaching someone who was like, I wrote that poem about that story and thought, this is a crapshoot, but like maybe she'll read it someday. Who knows? But it was really cool that it like actually manifested and happened. And I remember like going home that day and I was just like so energized and excited by what happened. And I don't know, I think it was just so cool. And it's something that I think about a lot. But when I was, being and learning about your podcast, it just like brought me back to that moment, because I was still so scared of like what being a writer meant. It was nice to
Did
be
you publish
validated
any
in that
books
way, but
yet
then also
at that point?
I have.
You,
I hadn't published any books at that point.
okay, so did that
so
inspire you? Was that
just
part of the transition that took place?
It did. It was like, okay, this is a real deal thing, and I can make real connections with people, and I can reach people using these platforms that I like felt like I was spending so much time trying to make connections with people. But it was so validating, and it definitely kind of like lit a fire under my butt. And it continues to just like, it makes me happy to think about it. So
oh, that's amazing. And yeah, I mean, did you get back in touch with the producer and thank that person, or you had no way of reaching them? But
I have no way of like reaching them, but to know they like saw it and read it and then took the time to share it again, when I'm sure they're like way too busy to do any of those things. It just like means a lot. Like the power of strangers is really cool in the way that I think art can inspire connections. It's definitely, so, I mean, they took time out of there to create that for me and for this person. So I'm just like forever thankful for that, because it was just like a fun connection that I think it kind of like lit a fire under my butt.
yeah,
And it was pretty cool.
Well, I mean, what's amazing is that, and whoever's listening, if you find yourself in a position, you can be an extremely busy person, but it is 5 minutes, right? It's 5 minutes like, hey, I saw this girl wrote this, you might be interested in it, 5-minute email, bam, done. Or just, resharing, or, capturing it and sending it to somebody. It's so, and it can make such a difference. Like he or she, I don't know, the producer has no way of knowing that impacted your life so much and gave you that validation, which then fired you up to get your first book done. And obviously that has impacted your life in just so many different ways.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was definitely kind of the nudge that like you go to the top of the roller coaster and it like sits for a second. And I was kind of like at that point in my life where it's like kind of sitting, and I was like, ooh, and it was just kind of the little like tap I needed to like go down the hill, And it was cool. And that's something that I try to translate those little favors, I think, so much. Like we live such like impersonal lives, right? Everything is so contractual and everything is so, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of thought going into it. But even now, like when I talk to I teach college students, is being like, oh, you do this, I know someone who does that. Like I just try to make connections for people because I do, and I remember when people made connections for me in my life. I'll try it forward. And yeah, if you're out there and you're in the position where you can like make something happen for a young person who's eager and hungry and needs kind of a mentor, like if you can do that for somebody, that it's so rewarding on both sides. So do it.
Well, have you ever thought about doing like a collaboration with her where you would write more poems about her photography?
I definitely have, and I think that that might be something that kind of like comes in the future. I really would like to do that. And I have other friends who are photographers who are like, oh, I'd like to put your poems over this, or like over these images, or like those are definitely things that like we talk about. And it is hard. I'm still at the point where um I definitely like have an audience and people buy my books and it's great, but like I still do work a full-time job. So it is hard and time consuming to like be a creative and juggle all these things. But yeah, I'm hoping that I think 2021 is going to be a year of like collaborations. So that's kind of like what my mind is set on in terms of that timeline. So yeah, that's definitely something that I hope to do.
Oh, excellent. All right. Well, that's I love it. It's a simple story of something that
Mm-hmm.
happened to you that has so many messages and is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And the impact of our first times. And I love the fact, before we came on, you said,
Yeah.
it was great to reconnect with that memory because you do
Mm-hmm.
that and you get all those good positive emotions back up, right? So if you
Yeah.
feel down and you reconnect with an energy that powered you up or fired you up, reconnecting with that then
Mm-hmm.
brings that drive back that, this is what I had in mind.
Oh
This
yeah.
is what my desires were. And you reconnect and
Mm-hmm.
you keep going. And, people think that you need to go somewhere else to find your inspiration and motivation when there's these moments
Yeah.
in your life that are just waiting to re-energize you. So that's another great
Yeah. That's
point
so true.
to your story.
It's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. And it's funny, like that too, I was in that transition period, but there were a lot of voices in my life telling me, like, you're crazy for like doing this. Like, why are you trying to like be a creative? Not just like be a creative. I think we value creativity, but like in terms of like actually having a career in creativity, that is kind of unheard of still, even in the world of like podcasting and, Instagram and like all these places and, YouTube, where all these creative people are able to like make a living. Uh, I there were so many voices in my life that were like, Rachel, like you had the plan to like be a teacher and like keep doing that. I was teaching high school students full time, and I just realized like I couldn't do both. So I think it came to at a great time where it was like people believe in this stuff, and like just you need that cheering section, in those times when you're at crossroads. And yeah, it's fun to think about, and I'm thankful that it happened, and I'm really glad I got to come in and tell, because I think it just goes to show, like, reach out to people you think they'll never respond, or like send someone an email, like whatever it is. Like sometimes the world does crazy things for you, so to me it's like the worst somebody can ever say to you is no. you know
So was that, well, so let's touch on that just a little bit. Was that your first
Mhm.
time reaching out to somebody that way, or you had done that many times? It's just the first time that it yielded the results that it did.
I At that point, no, I wasn't really reaching out to people. It was just kind of a like, I'm gonna throw this up in the air, and if something happens, cool. And I didn't expect anything from it. It was still like, this is probably like I was posting my poems on Instagram for maybe like a month at this point. Like I was very fresh, very new, and I was like, yeah, I'll give this a shot. Like, why not? Like, share it. Maybe someone will read it and like it. I don't know. Yeah. So, but now I've definitely learned, like, I reach out to people just all the time, and I travel or do conferences and stuff for marketing work. I always bring my typewriter with me, and I just contact like random restaurants and bars, and I'm like, hey, can I come like write poems at your bar? And many times people say yes, but they don't owe me anything. They don't know me. I'm a stranger. And I think the more you kind of, try to reach out and connect people, most of the time it works out.
So you did say
It's a weird
typewriter,
thing,
so
but
you travel with those things are not light. You travel like an old-fashioned typewriter?
no. Yeah, I made a joke all the time that I could probably kill somebody with it. It's like probably 30 pounds. It's probably a bad joke, but it's true. Yeah, so I have a 1962 Smith Corona typewriter, and it's one of the ones
Oh.
that come in the traveling case. And yeah, so I do typewriter poetry events around Denver and beyond. I've had some people invite me, to a wedding like across the country and fly me out there, and I write poems. So I do on the spot poetry. So someone will come up to the table and say, "Hey," I'll say, "Hey, give me a topic," and they give me a topic, and I read the poem in 2 minutes, and they get to take it home with them, like a
Oh,
memento
wow.
of like
That is
whether it's a
so neat.
reunion, yeah, whether it's like yeah, it's really cool. People love they love to see it happen. I think we don't always see, you don't know, you always see like the painting at the end. You don't see like the process of making the painting. So I think, people like seeing poetry happen. It's nice for me because writing is often seen as this like isolating art,
Yeah.
right? These poets, they're all writers are angsty, and they, they sit in their room and they write poems. Like that's not the case. But I think it's pretty cool to like have a collab, like the poem then becomes collaborative because someone's giving me a topic and then they're telling me a story, and then I'm like, okay, how do I turn this into art? And then I get to make it for them and they get to take it home. Like there's so many touch points for exchange, and art is not like that very often. So it's really cool to create that for someone, and it's really inspiring for me just to like get a new voice and a new perspective, and it helps a lot.
It still blows my mind a little bit because that's really impressive. I write, and I
Thank
know
you.
to have to do it on the spot like that would be like a challenge, right? And so that's
Yeah,
impressive.
I
I mean,
love
that's
it.
really
It's
knowing your art and being able to, to do and to share and to feel it all the time. So, wow.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. It's so much fun. And, people are always so surprised by it, which it just like brings an energy to a room, into a space. I've done it at weddings, and I've done it at, holiday parties for companies, and people are always so shocked and excited by it. And I think like that is so cool, that something that in high school, poetry is like so archaic. It's so like far away. Right? And it's so cool for it to be this thing that's like relevant and makes people excited. Like I am so to give people a new perspective.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
nostalgia of
And then,
hearing
get
the
people send me
key.
picture.
Oh, sorry, there's a little bit of a delay, but the
Mm-hmm.
nostalgia of like hearing the typewriter, of like the sound, and which most people probably have never even seen a typewriter, and
Mm-hmm.
then that's such a great like experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so sensual. Like the sounds of it, the way it feels. Uh, I was walking down the other day. I'm being featured in this cool artist magazine in Denver in the month of October, and we were doing like a photo shoot for it. And I'm walking down the street in Denver, and these two guys are out on a patio having a beer. And this guy, I'm walking past this guy, and he goes, "What is in that case?" Like he didn't hurt him at all. Like, and this thing's heavy. Like when I'm carrying it, I'm like, kind of hunched over, right?
Lopsided.
And I just really, it's a typewriter actually. And he was like, "What?" And like we started talking about it, and he just like got so excited. Like there's something about a typewriter that just like makes people, yeah, there's like this nostalgia with it. And it's cool to be able to like introduce people to that again. There's
Oh
kind of this,
man.
yeah, it's fun.
That's
It's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, that is also cool. All right. Well,
Mhm.
before we move into the first time lightning round, and I have loved hearing your story so far. Let's see if we can find out more about you. Let people know, how can they get in touch with you, connect with your Instagram, and see all these pictures and your poems, and
Cool.
get your books.
Awesome. Yeah. So I post on Instagram every day, and my username is RRNOALL. So every single day, you can read a new poem on there, and I type out on my typewriter every day. So yeah, definitely check that out. My new website is actually launching this afternoon. It's www.rrnoll.com. I redid the whole website for this new book that I have coming out. So my third poetry collection is called At War with Stars. And it's about humanity and like finding our sense of like place and identity, like in a really busy world. So I think the poems are meant to kind of like slow you down and make you like be still. And I'm really excited. I think it shows off kind of a new style that I was really inspired by during my master's program in creative writing. So I'm super excited for like new fans to read it, because it's like definitely the best poetry I've ever written. So I'm super, super excited about it. The book is coming out at the end of October, but my new website is going to be live this afternoon. So definitely check it out. Go give it some love. And yeah, if you have questions about poetry, like I always respond to people's messages. So you send me a message on Instagram or fill out my contact form on my website. Like I very diligently respond to those. So if you have questions about poetry or like want to learn more about the typewriter thing or anything like that, I'm always happy to answer questions.
That's so amazing. And I love how you're fully pursuing, the creative side. And again, you still have the full-time job, and that obviously takes a lot of your time, but I can really see where at some point you will be, if you want to be able to transition to your full creative side. And
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I wanted to be a writer. The same thing. And my parents were like, you can't make a living doing that, and I turned 43 a few days ago. So I'm of the generation where the internet was,
Happy birthday.
Thank you. The internet didn't exist. So it's not like I could see a way. And I believed everybody who said, you can't make a living doing that. And so I ended up joining the Marine Corps in pursuit of a thing, but that creative, part of me never went away. So it's really, I was reflecting on, wow, the first time storytelling ties to the 365 First Challenge, and it ties to Next Level First Coaching, which are other aspect. It's like, I'm in storytelling, like, it's not fiction, but I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make money off of telling stories and having other people tell stories. And that's tied to, storytelling. So, so there you go.
Oh yeah. I think we all get to those realizations in different ways. I think that the creative sides of all of us, like now that we do have all this technology available to us, we're all learning like new ways that we can kind of like pull those creative parts of ourselves out and share them. So no, it doesn't surprise me at all that like you're here now, because if you're supposed to do it, then like you're doing it, and that's amazing. Like that's so inspiring to all these people who I think are kind of on the edge, and it's just do it.
Like, just do it. Yeah.
You'll never regret just giving it a shot.
Yeah, because and even if you feel like that side of you is buried, let it out, let it see, what it can do. And so yours is a great story of that, and reaching out to people and sharing. And have the confidence to share what you're working on, and stepping out in the world. All right. Oh, fabulous stuff. Okay, let's get to it. Let's play the first time lightning round. So the way it works is I'm going to ask Rachel 10 different first time options. If it's something that she's done before, she's going to say up, to similar to if she was on the 365 First Challenge app. If it's something she's never done, not interested, we go left. Something she's never done, would like to do, and add to her list, we go right. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Go to a theme park. Up. Remember your
swipe up on that one.
Your first theme park.
I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and the world famous amusement park Cedar Point is only an hour and a half away. So my childhood babysitter, her name's Holly, and she's still a great friend of our family. She was like a roller coaster junkie. And when I was old enough, I was finally able to go with her, and it was so much fun. And I've been there now a few times since, but yeah, the roller coasters at Cedar Point are no joke. And if you do like theme parks, I would highly recommend it.
All right. Awesome. Milk a cow.
I've actually done that too. I'm swipe up. Again, I'm from Ohio. So I think the first time I did that, there's this, it's like this great, I want to say it's like Great Lakes Farm something, but as I was in kindergarten and we went on a field, and of course I volunteered to milk the cow because I was adventurous at a young age.
Splendid. Write a screenplay.
I'm gonna swipe right on that one.
Yeah.
I've taken some screenplay classes and I've written the first 30 pages of one maybe. But I haven't finished it.
All right. So we're adding it to the
I'd
list.
definitely be interested in that.
Have your makeup professionally done.
I'm gonna swipe up. For a homecoming once.
Okay.
Well, it's so funny. So like I did that in high school once because I was like, I do not want to do or buy any of this. Like I've never been this person who like wore a lot of makeup, but it's even funnier now because I'm getting married in a month.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
Thank you. My fiance and I were eloping and we got this thing from our photographer that was like, who are all of your vendors? And it was like makeup. And I was like, me. And it was like videographer. I was like, no one. Like flowers, Trader Joe's. Like I'm so not this, like I've never like dreamed about my wedding as a kid, but I'm like so excited to get married to my human. And yeah, so I've had it professionally done, but I will not be having professional makeup done when I get married. Some people might disagree with that.
Yeah, I'm not a makeup person either, but I definitely had mine professionally done quite a few times, and there's quite a few times where I'm like, I really think I actually look better without makeup because it just feels weird. So
right?
I understand where you're coming from.
Stuff on my face. I don't want to let stuff on my face.
Okay, next one. Take an advanced driving course.
I'm gonna swipe left.
Left driving.
I feel like I'm a pretty good driver.
So
I'm
this
just not interested. I also have my motorcycle license, so I feel like I'm an extra good driver because that. So I'm gonna swipe left.
Okay. Yeah. So this would be like a racing course or like a defensive driver's course or like a evasive course, like this type of like, yeah. So I'm obsessed with driving. So I'd take any driving course anybody wants to give me.
Nice.
So, okay.
You should take the motorcycle course.
I've done that. So I own
Nevada.
Yeah, I had a motorcycle for a while, and I had to realize I was in my much younger days, and maybe now would be better, but back then I was like, I'm gonna kill myself because I don't have the maturity to like keep it under control.
Okay. Okay. Well, I made a good choice.
Okay, I mountain bike now, so I can't reach the same type of speed, but it gives me the same type of thrills. So, okay, do scrapbooking.
I'm gonna swipe up on that one as well. My mom was like a really big scrapbooker as a kid, and my brother and I have these like gorgeous scrapbooks of like literally documenting everything. It's pretty awesome. But I sometimes make these like poem collages. So if you guys go on my Instagram, you'll see all these little like pieces of paper that have the poems on them. Every few months I turn them into collages with like art, and we'll buy them. So I'd say that's like kind of scrapbooking.
Yeah,
so,
that's definitely, that's cool. And that's awesome that your mom did that for you guys.
Yeah, no, it's like they are so gorgeous. I'm so glad we have them. I know a lot of people like that, but it's so nice to have it all in one place.
Yeah,
it's great.
And there's something for it to not be digital, to be like an actual, you can touch it and look at it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Dance the rumba.
I'll swipe right on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never done that, but I'd be open to it.
Fabulous. Next one, donate toys.
I swipe up. I do that quite a bit.
Oh, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Yeah.
remember? Do
Yeah.
you remember the first time, the first organization?
Um, so when I was a kid, we had these really great blocks, like these amazing wooden blocks. And I used to like, I've always been obsessed with building things. I've been very like handsy. Um, but when we got old enough, and then, my brother's 4 years younger than me, so he played with them. And then when we were like, we have like 50 pounds of blocks, like these amazing blocks, but they're so big and they take up a lot of space. Like, where can we take them? It's this place. So I grew up in this suburban town called Sugar Falls, and it's very like vanilla. um you know and there's this part of town they redlined, because very vanilla, and it's Clinton Falls Park, and we donated all the blocks to the kids that go to that community center. They do like amazing
Oh,
programs for them. They do all this give back stuff, and like I think it's a testament to, I like think kids are amazing. I started in teaching. I still teach young people. And for me, it's like you pay it forward, especially when I think some neighborhoods don't do that or value diversity. So I'm happy that I can do that.
oh, that's really great. I have to be a bit of a mixed emotions. Like you're happy to give them away, and somebody else going to play with them, and then it's like, oh, all my memories of those blocks.
No, like for me, it's like I'm someone who, as much like nostalgia and like memories, I feel like I just like carry them all in my body. Like I feel like I need to have items to like signify them. I think for some people it's like I have to keep that because it means this. And for me, it's like, I'm 29 years old. Like I'm not gonna sit down and like play with blocks. Like I'd love to, honestly, if I could, but someone else can use them. And for me, the thing is like really like what happened in the town politically that caused
Yeah,
that.
that moved you.
So I'm just happy that I can like be an ally to people who have been, forgotten, or things like that.
That's great. Okay, next one, jump rope.
Swipe up. I've done that.
Have you
On the
done double
playground.
dutch?
I've tried to do double dutch. So the first time I did double dutch, I was working as soon as I graduated from undergrad. I moved back to Cleveland. So I went to school in Pennsylvania, moved back to Cleveland, and I did an AmeriCorps project called City Year. And I was teaching 7th grade students in inner city Cleveland, which was eye-opening for, many reasons, and definitely made me like, I just like woke up to like social justice. And my students always found it makes us so bad at it. They'd be like, Miss Rachel, you suck. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But I've done it. So
All right, you tried it. All right, last one, eat Moroccan food or cuisine.
I'm gonna swipe right. I'm not sure I've ever had like specifically Moroccan food. I know I've had like influenced, but yeah, I'm a big eater. I love to eat.
Yeah, I highly recommend Moroccan food. It's very, very good. The tajir, that's what it's called. That the food is cooked in and very healthy.
Oh yeah.
Like lots of veggies and
Mhm.
if
No, yeah.
you're I don't know if you're vegetarian or not, but if it's made with meat, it's
No.
very delicious.
Eat everything.
All
Like
right.
nothing's off limit. Yeah, so I'm all about that.
Perfect. All right. So, final question is, how have you been making the best of the current situation with the pandemic?
It's been an interesting transition. I had it easier than most people. I've worked from home, freelance work for 3.5 years. So, I have a routine in terms of being at home, whereas like a lot of people, brother used to go into the day, and now he's literally in his bedroom right now, and the kitchen table's in his bedroom, and he has 2 screens in there like trying to work. So like that has been a transition for people. I feel really lucky that I already kind of had it done. It's been definitely eye-opening, and I'm just like trying to learn a lot, and I'm trying to our group of friends is like very, educated and safe about all these things. And I think unfortunately COVID has been politicized a lot. And I don't know. I've tried really hard to just like take care of myself mentally and physically. For a while there, I was definitely eating too many cookies, cut back on the cookies. I do need to fit into my wedding dress in 29 days. But no, I mean, I'm just trying to like cruise through. I definitely miss, I would like leave the house at 10 a.m. I would go sit in a coffee shop for 5 hours. Like everyone in Denver knows me. I'm like a coffee shop person. So like I rotate between like 3 coffee shops, I do my work for the day, and then I go home and I'm like done at 3 o'clock. And it's like amazing. Life is definitely a little different now to like change up my routine. I sit outside a lot. We're really lucky that, just before COVID, like a few months before coronavirus happened, I kind of like I was living like right downtown, and my fiance and I moved into a house in kind of a little bit of the suburbs. So like we have a backyard, which like if we'd been in an apartment this whole time, I think I would have gone crazy. So it's definitely made me value like my own space a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I think it's been about kind of, mental health, trying to take care of myself and trying also to like be inspired and use all the extra time I have to kind of like get things done. So, doing what you can.
Well, and with the new launch of the book and the website, it sounds like you have been productive, and that it's all going to yield
Yes.
fabulous dividends and pay off. So,
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
all right. Well, Rachel,
I'm
thank
hoping.
you for spending some time with me this morning. It was a pleasure to have you on, hear your story, and then pass all of that great, hopefully, inspiration to people to take those steps to follow their creative sides, and not be afraid to put yourself out there.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to speak to this, and I appreciate what you're doing in terms of storytelling. I think sometimes we're like, as a society, we're trying to like, I think when you tell stories about yourself, it can be seen as like selfish or narcissistic. And I think it's actually the opposite, and like really find more connections with people. So, that's so important right now, especially because we feel so isolated. So thank you for doing what you do. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you. All right. Well, have a great rest of your week and an amazing wedding. Congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I appreciate it.